Alright, what's going on guys? Gino Checker back in for another video today. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to maximize your muscle growth naturally. Building muscle mass as natural takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of years, hard work and patience, but if you utilize all of the techniques I'm going to be covering in this video, you will ensure that you're doing everything possible to maximize your muscle growth potential. In this video today, I'm going to be covering the fundamental aspects when it comes to training and nutrition to ensure that you're doing everything humanly possible to maximize your gains. The first thing that we're going to be covering is training, and I'm going to be splitting this up into 5 different subjects. First off is proper form. You want to ensure that every single exercise that you do in the gym is performed with proper form. Now there are 2 major reasons that you want to pay attention to your form. First off is obviously for injury prevention, because if you don't utilize proper form on all of your exercises, and especially when it comes to the compound lifts, you have a lot of risk for injury. And of course, running into injuries is something that does the exact opposite of maximizing your gains. So ensure that you're using proper form. And the second reason is to simply ensure that you're actually stimulating your muscles to your best capability. If you're doing the bench press, for example, and you're not utilizing the proper scapular position to ensure that you're stretching and contracting the chest to your best capability, you will not stimulate the chest at all. By doing that, you will not stimulate the chest to your best capability, and you won't get the best bang for your buck when it comes to that exercise. Same goes for the bicep curl. If you're not properly supinating your wrist out to ensure that you're fully shortening the biceps, you will simply not get the most out of that exercise. And that is a true waste, because you can put in all the intensity that you want, but if you're not utilizing the proper biomechanical functions for each exercise and ensure that you're properly setting yourself up, you are wasting your time. Next up is progressive overload. The number one thing when it comes to stimulating muscular hypertrophy and ensuring muscle growth is providing your muscles with a bigger stimulus over time to ensure that they have a reason to grow. If you're going into the gym doing the same thing over and over again, doing the same amount of sets, the same amount of reps with the same amount of weight, pretty logically speaking, you're not providing your muscles with a reason to grow from the workouts that you're doing. So ensure that you're making an increase in volume over time. Now this can mean adding sets to your workouts up to a certain degree, adding reps to your workouts also up to a certain degree before it becomes too much, or, which is my favorite option, increase the weight slowly but surely to ensure that you're providing your muscles with a bigger stimulus over time to grow. Now of course this doesn't mean that you should be upping the weight very exponentially every single workout, because of course if you up the weight way too fast, it'll go at the cost of your form, which goes back to number 1. But ensure that you're running a proper program that focuses on progressive overload over time by, for example, starting submaximally to ensure that you're properly utilizing progressive overload to your training. Next up is your total amount of volume. Properly utilizing progressive overload and having an adequate amount of volume in your training program are the 2 main contributors when it comes to hypertrophy. Volume simply comes down to the total amount of working sets that you're doing in the total of the week. Now there are specific volume landmarks, and when it comes to making effective progress in terms of muscular hypertrophy, you want to be anywhere in the range of 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. Now this is also called minimum effective volume, and you can bump this up to around 20 to 26 sets per week. This is also largely individually dependent, since a lot of people simply cannot recover from 20 to 26 sets per week. So try to find the sweet spot for you that still allows you to progress, promote muscular hypertrophy, and recover from the workouts that you're doing. By going lower than 10 sets per week per muscle group, you're probably inhibiting the amount of progression that you could be making, and going way too high in volume simply allows you to not recover properly, which also pretty much inhibits the amount of progression that you could be making. Fourth on the list is training frequency. Now there are 2 main reasons that you want to train your muscles frequently throughout the week. Reason number 1 is that you can allow yourself to distribute your volume evenly throughout the week, so that you don't have to do 10 to 20 sets in just one single session, because you obviously will not recover properly from that. And the second reason is that you're keeping your muscles sensitized to protein intake, aka muscle protein synthesis. Muscle protein synthesis is the process that starts working after a workout in which your muscles are sensitized to protein intake. Muscle protein synthesis generally lasts for about 48 to 72 hours, also largely depending on your level of advancement, since in more advanced folks it generally lasts for about 24 to 48 hours. But if you're falling into the beginner and intermediate category, then it's probably more in the range of 48 to 72 hours. And in that time period, your muscles are sensitized to protein intake. This means that every time you eat protein throughout the day, you're providing your muscles with the necessary nutrients and amino acids that they need after a workout to ensure that you're properly recovering and growing. Now, my general advice would be to train your muscles at least 2 to 3 times per week. Now, this can be done with an upper-lower split or a push-pull leg split. And if you're a little bit more advanced, you can bump this up to around 4 to 5 times per week on, for example, a full body split. This also largely comes down to personal preference, since a lot of people just simply do not enjoy full body training routines. So as long as you're sticking to the 2 to 3 times per week range, you're probably good to go. And the last subject that I want to cover when it comes to training is your intensity. You want to ensure that you're linearly building up your training intensity in your training program to simply ensure that you're training closer and closer to muscular failure. In order to provide your muscles with the biggest stimulus possible to promote the most amount of hypertrophy, you want to start off at around 3 to 4 reps in reserve from actual true concentric muscular failure, then moving on to 2 to 3 reps in reserve, 1 to 2 reps in reserve, and then lastly ending up at 0 to 1 reps in reserve, which means that you're training closer and closer to failure. Now, I recommend you jump on a solid training program that is actually providing you with the necessary steps in order to achieve going closer to muscular failure properly. Since if you start a training program pretty much already training close to failure or at failure, you're simply not allowing your muscles to recover from the workouts that you're doing, which means that you're leaving a lot of potential progress on the table. So now we're moving on to nutrition. You want to eat at a caloric surplus to ensure that you're maximizing your muscle growth potential. By being in a caloric surplus of around 200 to 300 calories, you're providing your muscles with enough energy to recover and grow from your workouts. Especially if you're going to be training with higher amounts of volume and increasing the weight and volume over time, you're going to need that extra energy to make that all possible. So be sure to eat 200 to 300 calories above your maintenance to ensure that you're properly feeding your body to grow. Next up is protein intake. You want to be eating around 1 gram per pound of body weight or 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight to ensure that you're providing your muscles with enough building blocks or amino acids to grow and recover. If you're not eating enough protein, you're simply not providing your muscles with enough building blocks to grow in the first place, and you will probably notice that you're simply not recovering properly enough. It's okay to go a little bit on the higher end of the protein intake, but I generally don't recommend going any lower than 1 gram or 2.2 grams, since in my opinion, if you're going any lower than that, you're probably risking not getting in enough protein. Now, I'm still a big believer in flexible dieting and eating foods that you enjoy so that you can make this whole lifestyle a lot more flexible. But when it comes to maximizing performance and maximizing results, I actually do recommend you guys to focus on eating more nutritious foods and getting in your vitamins and minerals. Right? I've tried the whole flexible dieting stuff and eating a lot more foods that I actually enjoy, and I truly notice a difference when I start eating a lot more clean compared to eating more tasty or unhealthy foods, especially surrounding my workouts. Alright, don't get me wrong, I still eat my Nutella sandwich every single day, but especially surrounding my workouts, I'm ensuring that I'm eating a lot more nutritious foods, ensuring that I'm providing my body with the nutrients to maximize my performance in the gym and to recover and grow as best as I can. So just to give a couple of examples, for my pre-workout nutrition, I always stick to eating egg whites, a bowl of oats with a scoop of whey protein and a fruit source to provide my muscles with enough carbs, low fat to ensure that I'm digesting this meal properly, and high protein to ensure that I'm in an anabolic state during my workout, and taking an intra-workout shake containing dextrose and essential amino acids or EAAs, simply because I noticed that when I didn't take an intra-workout shake or intra-workout nutrition, I crashed really hard in terms of energy at the later end of my workout, since my workouts generally take around an hour and a half up to 2 hours. And for my post-workout nutrition, I'm again having a high carb, low fat and high protein meal. And on the topic of pre, intra and post-workout nutrition, I want to cover the last subject of this entire video to maximize your gains, which is meal timing. Right, meal timing has been getting a bad credit in the last couple of years, but that is largely due to the fact that it was promoted for all the wrong reasons. It doesn't have any magical fat burning effect or whatever, but when it comes to maximizing muscle growth, it actually plays a big role. But this more so comes down to how you're distributing your protein intake throughout the day. So I already covered muscle protein synthesis and that your muscles are sensitized to protein intake after a workout. And every time that you get a protein feeding in, you're providing a spike in muscle protein synthesis. So by spreading your protein intake to around 3 to 5 meals or feedings per day, you're ensuring that you're making the most out of the whole muscle protein synthesis process. So by spreading your protein intake over 3 to 5 meals per day, spread out evenly throughout the day, you're ensuring that you're keeping your muscles in an anabolic state to ensure that you're maximizing your gains and getting the most from your workouts and your nutrition. Alright, that is all for this video, guys. I sincerely hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to smash the like button because it truly helps out the channel grow. Comment down below and subscribe to the channel. And turn post notifications on for so much more content coming really soon. I'm out, guys, and peace out. See you in the next one.